4D Ursula Acrylic Nail Art Tutorial by Hotpinkzebrapolish. Hi guys, in today's video I'm going to be showing you the last little bit of my shape-shifting Disney villain series. So this one is going to be Ursula, which is, she's in my top 3 villains. I also like Cruella, so she doesn't shapeshift, so she wasn't part of that, but I also have one that is for Cruella coming up here pretty soon. So if you like Cruella like I do, definitely check back for that one. But it is going to be just Ursula on top in her normal octopus form with her wonderful purple hued skin and her awesome eyebrows, and then underneath it's while she's her human. So it's just kind of interesting. I don't really think of Ursula. I wouldn't actually even recognize her as a human until I was doing all this research, even though I've seen The Little Mermaid several times. It just, I don't know, it just isn't one of those that you instantly recognize, or at least I don't. But it's still kind of fun because she does shift back and forth. So I hope you guys like this, and don't forget to click subscribe to see all my future videos as well. So to begin with, I started with an overlay of a teal colored acrylic. I wanted it to look very aquatic and have that, you know, underwater sort of feel. So I thought this medium teal acrylic was appropriate. With all the other two, I wanted to keep them a fairly light because they're fairly light backgrounds, because there was so much dark on both the characters, both the images. But with Ursula, she's actually very light. She's got, you know, lavender skin, white hair. The other one, she's in a wedding dress, so it's cream. It's all very pale. So I kind of did the opposite. So I did a medium teal color in the background just so that it would offset all of that light color. And then when the acrylic isn't completely set yet, you're going to want to place a magnet in the very center of the nail. As you can see, I have that in there. And then encase the nail with a layer of clear acrylic. So now I'm going to be filing the nail into shape, and I'm going to go ahead with my E-file, and I started out with a fairly coarse bit to remove any bulk, and then I switched to a finer bit to refine the surface texture, make sure it's nice and smooth and easy to paint on. So now I'm going to be painting Ursula's human, which is, her name is Vanessa. I had to look that up because I had no idea what it was. Same thing, it's kind of, I don't know why. I actually just rewatched The Little Mermaid today because I was like, you know what, I feel like I really need to recognize Vanessa. This is just, Ursula is one of my absolute favorites. How can I not recognize her other form? That's just craziness. So I watched The Little Mermaid. I'll make sure I got this. At this point, I've got it down. But at first I was like, I know she turns into a human, but I have no idea what her name is. Anyways, now I do. So I started out with painting Vanessa's face and then neck and then just a little bit of her neckline. And so that's with a very light creamy peach. And then I'm going to go through with an off-white. She doesn't have a white wedding dress. Ariel does later on, but she has just like a cream colored dress. So I'm going to start with painting the bodice of that. And then I'm going to be adding the really big sleeves. So she's got nice kind of the time era, nice big poofy sleeves, and then her arms come down. It's kind of, it always cracks me up like with Cinderella. It's interesting to see the fashion from different Disney movies. You can see how fashion progresses, I think, in films like that. I think it's interesting. I don't know, maybe it's not as interesting as I think. But then after I've got her dress down, I'm going to be adding her hair. She's got kind of like a chocolate brown hair, so with a medium brown, go ahead and be adding her hair around her face and just kind of filling in any of those areas. If you do find it's like, okay, well, I'm adding it around something, it's behind what I've already painted, and you overlap something, you can always fix it up later if you need to. And then I'm going to be adding her veil, so she's got a little bit of like a little point of the veil sticks up at the top of her head, and then it kind of just goes down. It's a very long veil, so it goes all the way down. So it continues down. It's the same light off-white cream color as the dress is. So then it goes down on the other side. Her face is turned ever so slightly, or her body is turned ever so slightly, so you see much more of the veil on one side than you do on the other. So then after that, because that light cream color wasn't quite opaque, I just added a quick second coat over everything. A second coat always goes so much faster than the first coat, so it doesn't take long to just kind of fill that in, touch up her hair where it got messed up from painting the veil behind it. And now, using brown paint, I'm going to be doing her outlines. Instead of doing the outlines with black on the dress and on her veil and on her face, she's actually got her outlines in the same brown as her hair color. So just start with that same chocolate brown and do the little outlines on her dress. She's got a scalloped edging on the dress, like a little bit of a trim, and then add the different lines on her to make sure that her sleeves are nice and defined and easy to see. And then add just a couple movement lines on the veil to make sure it looks like it's really light material. And then you're also going to, this is done with black, however, you need to add the chain and the shell necklace. The shell necklace is golden yellow, but you need to make sure that you add the chain. That is such a crucial point that makes this definitely Ursula. So then going back to brown, I'm going to be adding her facial features. So I'm going to be outlining her eyes. I did not start with her eyebrows like I said I normally do in the last video, but I did start with her eyes instead. I don't know why. Sometimes I break my own rules. And so I did that with brown, but then I went through with black and I did that upper line of, so she's got nice eyelashes, so the upper line of her eyes with black. And then fill in her eyes with white. Add the color in her eyes with purple. That's another thing that kind of ties her back to Ursula. So her iris is purple. Like I said, there's these little things that you look at. It's like, oh yeah, Ursula. Go ahead and add her eyebrows with brown. And then I'm going to be adding her lips with red. All these villains, they all have red lips. And, it's just interesting. So go ahead and add her lips with red, add a couple more outlines with brown, and then going with black, I'm going to be adding a couple outlines on her hair. You can't do outlines on her hair with the same color as her hair is because they're just not going to show up. So make sure that those are black. And do that. And then add a couple black outlines on the shell necklace. And then just a touch of red right along the tip for the roses that she's holding. Then apply a layer of gel sealer over the top of the entire thing. Cure that, and then you are ready to start sculpting your 3D Ursula. So wrap that nail tightly so there's no wrinkles, and then grab another magnet and set it over the top of the magnet that is already in the nail, so it goes right in the center of her face. And then I'm going to begin sculpting her octopus face with a lavender colored acrylic. So she's got a very fleshy appearance, so she's got a nice round face, a nice double chin, and then I also did her shoulders going out with that same lavender. You don't see any of her arms or anything, but just, kind of continue it out to the edges of the nail for her shoulders. So I start out, like I said, with her, that's actually just the top portion of her face. I'm going to be adding the rest of it now. So just kind of continue that down because, like I said, she's got that double chin. So she's got a very large face, and her face actually takes up the majority of this little 3D piece. Just fill that in, and then I'm going to be adding her shoulders, like I said. So this lavender color of acrylic I have is an almost white. It's very, very, very light. So it creates a wonderful dead sort of color for backgrounds. It would also be a very good one if you're going to be doing a zombie that wasn't green or like a vampire, just because it is so pale, but it definitely has that lavender hue to it. So I actually filled in the entire bottom of the nail with that lavender color. She does have just a touch of the top of her dress that shows, but I'm just going to be adding that later on as another layer. So I just filled in the whole bottom. It's just easier that way. Make sure though that you have a little bit of definition between the bottom of her chin and her shoulders. So just like as you can see, I just took the tip of my brush and sort of sketched that or carved that out. So now with white, I'm going to be sculpting out her hair. So just add that around. Make sure that you do, that you don't cover up the point in her forehead. Just add those so she's got that nice widow's peak. All the villains have widow's peaks. I don't know if you guys noticed that or not, but they all do. And so add like she's got the little bits of hair that stick up. She's underwater, so her hair kind of has a mind of its own. And then I'm going to be taking a little bit of gold acrylic, and I'm going to be adding the shell necklace. Like I said, for the other one, for the painted version, the shell necklace is such a key factor. So as long as you have it on both 3D and flat, or human and octopus, as long as you have both of them with the shell necklace, then I think you definitely get Ursula out of it. At least I would. I'd be like, hey, Ursula. I was Ursula for Halloween a couple years ago, and I sculpted myself out of polymer clay a shell necklace, and every once in a while I'll wear it, and it's gold and it looks just like Ursula's necklace, and every once in a while I'll wear it out depending if it goes with my outfit or whatnot, and somebody will be like, hey, is that Ursula's necklace? It's so recognizable. It's the most iconic thing about Ursula, I think, is that necklace. So after I've got her necklace, and I also added that little top of her neckline of her dress, I'm going to go through and add just a little bit of a second for her first chin. Add her first chin in there, make sure that's 3D, and then her cheekbones. Those are the kind of the things that stick up the most. And I'm also going to be adding her little tiny, very sharp looking nose. So add all that. That's all 3D. And after that's done, you can, that's all I did for 3D, but then you can pop it off the nail once it is completely set, peel off that plastic wrap, and then just very carefully file and trim anything that's sticking up. There's always these little bits of acrylic when you're working with the plastic wrap that kind of sneak out and don't lay flat. There's not straight edges. So then you just have to kind of either cut them away or file them away. And I'm going to be filling in the back with just a very slight amount of clear acrylic just to fill in any of the little wrinkles that were in the plastic wrap. Don't do too much because you don't want to interfere with how it sits on the nail, but just enough to fill in the scratches. So now I'm going to be doing all of the outlines on her face, and I started with black paint, and I'm going to be doing her eyebrows like I said I usually do. For some reason on Vanessa, I just started with her eyes. I don't know. But add her eyebrows and then go through and add the outlines of her eyes. And this is another thing, like going back and forth, and I keep mentioning just because I didn't recognize Vanessa, but they both have very wide open eyes, which is kind of the style of The Little Mermaid, but it also just ties them back and forth to make sure that you do see that they are the same person, just in different forms. And I'm going to add a shadow around her eyes with gray. And then with that same gray, I'm going to be adding the couple shadows on her hair. So I did one, there's one on each side of her head. And later on I did add these. I could have done them now, but for whatever reason, I was like, well, I'll just do that later. Also, I did a couple little outlines to separate the sections of hair. But like I said, I did that later, so you'll see me do that in a moment. But I also then took red paint, and I'm going to be outlining her mouth, adding her lips, filling in her teeth with white, and I also wanted to fill in her eyes with white at this point, and touch up her lips a little bit if it needs to be with red. You can always go, when you're painting things like this, you can always go back and forth and kind of add this, then add that, then add this, and if something gets messed up somewhere along the way, you can always go back and touch it up, which is the great thing about acrylic paint, is it layers very well. With black, you're also going to want to go through and add a couple little outlines. So outline her smile lines on her face, outline her chin, outline the chain of her necklace. Then, like I said before, add the little gray stripes in her hair. And then with white, like I said, I'm going to be filling in her eyes just to make sure they're nice and bright and everything. And then I'm going to just add a little bit more of the black outline to her eyelids, to her lash line. And then I covered her eyelids with a little bit of blue. She's got some blue eyeshadow on. She's very glamorous with her red lips and her blue eyeshadow. She's gorgeous. And then I just added a couple little eyelashes in there. As you can see, I hiccuped and my brush went askew with that one, so I just had to touch that up. And then I'm going to be adding her pupils, just very small little pupils in there. And so then after all that painting is done, I'm going to go and just apply a layer of matte top coat over the top of the entire thing. Make sure all of that painting I did will be sealed in and last really well. And that is it. I love the way she turned out. I hope you guys like her too. And please check the description box to see all of the other videos. I'll put links to I'll put a link to my Disney series. I've got a whole folder of Disney videos I've done. So if you guys love Disney nail art designs, definitely check that out. I've made so many of them. So please share any recreations with me on Facebook or Instagram. I would love to see them, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!